What's up everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we have a very interesting Beyblade what if that came from one of my comment sections. Some guy named Steve asked, what if the Dark Nebula had a team in the World Championships? The Dark Nebula were infamous in Season 1 for being a group with some really strong bladers, so I think they could definitely put together a solid squad of 4. So first we're going to build the team, and then we're going to actually put them into the tournament and see how far they can get. And then at the end, we'll compare them to some other teams they may not have gotten to face. And just a disclaimer, I'm only analyzing how they would do in the tournament, so I won't be talking about the huge amount of changes this would cause to the story. And all of the characters on this team will be their Metal Fusion versions only, because that's when the Dark Nebula was active. So now let's jump right in to building this team. Starting out with the leader of Team Dark Nebula, we have Ryuga. Even though Metal Fusion Ryuga is the weakest version of Ryuga, he's still very strong and far above any other Dark Nebula bladers. So he'll be the leader of the team. And now my choice for the second member of Team Dark Nebula would have to be Reggie. He was the clear number 2 for the Dark Nebula in Battle Bladers, and the same would go for their World Championship team. So those are the first 2 members of the squad, and so far it's looking pretty solid. To round things out, our third member is going to be Yu, and then as a sub-member we have Ryutaro. So that's the top 4, Ryuga, Reggie, Yu, Ryutaro. It's pretty much just the top 4 Dark Nebula bladers. Now, someone worth mentioning is Tobio, because I have him right behind Ryutaro, meaning that he barely missed the top 4. And even though Tsubasa and Kyoya both spent some time with the Dark Nebula, I'm not including them because by the time Battle Bladers came around, they were both long gone from the organization. So it's official. We've built Team Dark Nebula, and now we're ready to see how they would do in the World Championships. I've decided that I'm just going to sub them in for Team Gang Galaxy because all of the bladers here are from Japan. So that means Team Dark Nebula is going to have the same tournament path as Gang Galaxy, starting with Team Wang Huzhong. Now, one more thing before we jump in, ranking bladers across the 3 seasons can get very subjective. I made a little community post the other day where I asked, how good do you think this team would do in Metal Masters? And the response was pretty split. Some people think that with each new season, characters get a lot stronger. Like in the sense that a top tier blader from Metal Masters would win against a top tier blader from Metal Fusion without really struggling. Now, obviously it depends on the characters, but that's generally what some people believe. On the other hand, some people think that the strength gap between Metal Masters and Metal Fusion isn't really there. Like, characters from Season 1 got a bit stronger in Season 2 because they trained, but overall, a high-tier character from Season 1 would be on the same level as a high-tier Season 2 blader. Now, it's up to you to form your own opinion, but I personally believe that there is a considerable power gap between the 2 seasons, just because we see bladers from Season 1 heavily improve in Season 2. I bring all this up because if you think there's no power gap, you'd probably rank this team pretty highly compared to the other World Championship teams, but because I believe that there is a pretty big power gap between seasons, my rankings may surprise you. But with that all out of the way, we're ready for the first round, Team Dark Nebula versus Team Wang Huzhong. Just to keep things simple, we're going to have Wang Huzhong keep their same battle order from when they battled Gang Galaxy, meaning that Chaoshin is up first. We'll say that Reggie goes out first, but it also could have been Yu. Chaoshin versus Reggie would be a very interesting battle, especially because Chaoshin originally switched his fusion wheel to the poison fusion wheel, which is the same as Reggie's Serpent, and who knows, maybe having the same fusion wheel could help Chaoshin fight off Serpent's poison. But anyways, this is a very close battle. I could see it going either way, but I'm going to give the win to Reggie. Even if Virgo was immune to the poison, I think Reggie's dark move might just be too much for Chaoshin, but let me know what you think because I can definitely see Chaoshin winning as well. But that's going to make the score 1-0 in favor of Team Dark Nebula. Team Wang Huzhong would then send out Chiyun for the second match, and Team Dark Nebula have some options. It's either Yu or Ryuga, and this is my own reasoning, so feel free to disagree, but I feel like Ryuga would sort of take on that Julian Konzern role, where he only battles if it's absolutely necessary and if someone is really worth his time. That's just my interpretation of his character, and for that reason I think Yu would battle Chiyun second, and this would be another great battle, but I just don't see Yu beating Chiyun here. It would be very close, but I'm gonna give this match to Team Wang Huzhong, evening the score 1-1. And for the third match, we have Ryuga versus Deshayan. Now, keep in mind, this is Season 1 Ryuga from Metal Fusion with Lightning Eldrago. If he had Meteor Eldrago, he would win very easily, but he doesn't. Just like the last two battles, this one would again be very, very close. But I think I gotta lean towards Deshayan. I know Ryuga's dark power and his ability to absorb power is very hard to fight against, but I think Deshayan could pull it off. After all, he's relative to Galaxy Pegasus Jinga, who is far stronger than Season 1 Jinga, and as we know, Ryuga lost to Season 1 Jinga. Now, there is an argument that Ryuga could just absorb Deshayan's power, but I think Deshayan could find a way to end the battle before that happened. If we look at Kyoya vs Ryuga in Season 1, we saw that right before the Dark Power took Ryuga over, Kyoya probably could have won if he had a powerful enough special move to knock out Eldrago. And because characters got so much stronger in Season 2, I think a full power Storm Surge from Deshayan could be enough to knock out Lightning Eldrago at the end of a hard-fought battle. So yeah, I'd say Deshayan would win, meaning that Team Wang Huzhong goes to the next round, and Team Dark Nebula are knocked out in the first round. They got pretty unlucky facing a top-tier team in just the first round, but at least they would still have the chance to work their way up in the wild cards. But now that they've lost, we're just going to compare them to the other teams and see where they stand. Starting with teams they would easily win against, we have Team Lavushka, we have Team Desert Blaze, and we have Team Shandora. No need to go over any matchups here because I think Team Dark Nebula sweeps all of these teams 2-0. I also think Team Dark Nebula could beat the Garcias. It wouldn't be as easy as Shandora, Desert Blaze, and Lavushka, but Team Dark Nebula could get it done in a 2-0 sweep. Argo is the only one that might give them some trouble, but this is still a relatively easy win. With that being said, this is as far as Team Dark Nebula goes, in my opinion. The rest of the teams that were in the tournament, being Wang Huzhong, Gang Galaxy, Excalibur, Starbreaker, and Wild Fang, all win against Team Dark Nebula. I know that sounds like a whole lot of teams, so let's go through each one. We already went over Wang Huzhong, which is probably the closest matchup in this little group of teams. If the Dark Nebula were to beat a team out of this group, it would probably be them, because some of these battles were kind of 50-50, especially Ryuga versus Deshayan. Moving on, Gang Galaxy would win. Masamune battles first against Reggie, and this could go either way, but for Dark Nebula's sake, let's just say Reggie wins. The second match would then be Tsubasa versus Yu. And we've seen this one play out so many times before. Tsubasa always wins. Even if it's Dark Tsubasa, Tsubasa would still win. This would make things 1-1, and the third match would be Jinga versus Ryuga. Jinga would win here for obvious reasons. Season 2 Jinga versus Season 1 Ryuga, and this would give Gang Galaxy the win. You can even mix around the matchups if you wanted to, and the result would stay the same. Team Japan is just stronger. Moving on, we have Team Excalibur. I'm pretty confident Klaus could beat Reggie in the first match because Reggie preys on the fear of his opponents, which Klaus doesn't seem to have. I would think he would just be fired up to battle someone so strong, kind of like Jinga was in Season 1. And if he isn't afraid of Reggie, I think his raw power could just overwhelm Serpent and give Excalibur a 1-0 lead. For the second match, it could be a team battle with Sophie and Wales, or it could be a 1v1. If it's a team battle versus Yu and Ryutaro, the Cetus pair wins, and this secures the 2-0 sweep. But if it's a solo battle, I think Yu has a chance to beat one of them. I know he got slept out by Sophie, but it was kind of a surprise special move, and he didn't even get to use his Inferno Blast in the battle. And this might be a crazy take, but I think Ryutaro has a pretty solid chance of beating just one of the Cetus pair. If he was in a 1v1 with only Wales, I legitimately think he has a great chance to win. I don't see Wales breaking out of the distortion drive. Well, maybe he does. If the Ryutaro take is too crazy, we'll just say that Yu can defeat either Sophie or Wales in a 1v1, tying up the score for a third match. That third match would of course be Ryuga versus Julian. And I feel like I'm about to make some Ryuga fans upset because I think Julian wins against Lightning Eldrago. My argument is pretty much the same as Deshayan. I think that at the end of a battle where both of them are weakened, Julian would win in a clash of special moves. However, just like Deshayan, this one could probably go either way, so let me know what you think. But personally, I have Julian winning. Now we move on to Team Starbreaker, and they could actually sweep the Dark Nebula. I mean, honestly, I don't know if Reggie or Yu could survive this full power Magnetic Needle Storm from Zeo. I mean, just look at this move. And I don't think Reggie or Yu would win against Jack either. And if it came to a third match, Damien beats Season 1 Ryuga. It's a competitive battle, but it would never be in doubt. Damien would be winning the whole match, and his raw power would just be too much for Season 1 Ryuga in my opinion. Depending on the matchups, Team Dark Nebula might be able to win one match against Starbreaker, but Starbreaker would win overall 2-1, or maybe even 2-0. And finally, we have Wild Fang. Niall always battles first for them, and we know he would beat you if that was the matchup, but if Reggie battled first, things would be a little more interesting. Reggie versus Niall would be a really fun matchup, but I think Niall comes out on top. That would make the score 1-0 for Wild Fang, paving the way for Kiyoya to secure the sweep. If we're saying Reggie battled first, that would mean you battle second, but because we all know Season 2 Kiyoya would run circles around Season 1 you, let's just say Ryuga steps out to battle second instead. We've already seen Season 1 Ryuga battle Kiyoya, and it was an absolute classic, but by the World Championships, Kiyoya has gotten so much stronger. He would definitely beat Season 1 Ryuga, giving Wild Fang the 2-0 sweep. So that about wraps it up. In no particular order, you have Team Wild Fang, Gang Gang Galaxy, Starbreaker, Excalibur, and Wang Huzhong all above Team Dark Nebula. Team Dark Nebula would probably be the 6th best team under all of these teams, and below them would be the Garcias, Lavushka, Desert Blaze, and Shandora. So overall, Team Dark Nebula are kind of a middle-of-the-pack team, which seems weird for a team led by Ryuga, but Bladers just got a lot stronger in Season 2. I also want to mention that Ryutaro could be a complete wild card. He could pull out some victories against opponents way stronger than him, just because of his special move being so unique and difficult to break out of. But let me know what you think. Am I underrating this team, or were my rankings pretty accurate? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.